Hello and welcome everyone. In this channel, I'm going to upload videos on business studies on a daily basis throughout this academic year. I hope that you get value out of this. This is apart from whatever the primary education that you get in your school. I hope to give you much more conceptual clarity, and also I'm planning to keep the length of these videos between 10 to 15 minutes so that you can also watch these videos quickly on the go. So we will be covering the first chapter, which is nature and significance of management. Now let's get into the lecture right away. I want you to imagine these three organizations. One is a hospital, and the other is a sports team, and a last one maybe a department store. Now, what do we have common among these all organizations? First of all three are organizations. One is hospital, whether it is a for-profit or not for-profit, and then there is a sports team. It could be a cricket team or a football team or any other hockey team, and then there is a department store. First of all are an organization, and all organizations will have goals. All these organizations will have goals. Now, what could be the goal of a hospital? The goal of any hospital could be to have the fastest treatment time in the city, or it could be to have the highest recovery rate or the lowest fatality rate. So that's how a hospital aims to function, to have the most goodwill. Okay, if you go there, you are almost sure to get recovered and come back. So that could be the goal of a hospital. And what could be the goal of a sports team? The goal of a sports team could be to win the tournament, maybe IPL or English Premier League or Champions League. Any sports team for that matter is to ultimately win the tournament. So win the tournament. And then what could be the goal of a department store? The goal of a department store is to have the most footfall, or to have the most traffic inside the market, and then thereby the more the number of people that come inside the market, the possibility of purchases will also be more, so that the department store will earn more profit. So more footfall, thereby more sales. So this is exactly what I want you to have in mind to get into this chapter in the first place. The common thing that we saw is all are organizations and all have goals. So now just with these 2 points, let's get into the definition of a management. Now, management is the process of designing and maintaining an environment in which individuals working together in groups efficiently accomplish selected aims. Now, I want you to pay your attention here with the word selected aims. Management is defined as the process of planning, organizing, actuating and controlling an organization's operations in order to achieve coordination of the human and mental resources essential in the efficient and effective attainment of objectives. The second thing I want you to have in mind is objectives. Management is the process of working with and through others to effectively achieve organizational objectives by efficiently using limited resources in the changing environment. Again, you can see the word objectives here. So this is exactly what I wanted you to know here, keep in mind. So I used the word goals, but there they use the word objectives. Both are pretty much same. All are organizations and all have ambitions or aims or goals or objectives, whatever you may call it. And then they work in teams or groups. So this is the first thing that you have to keep in mind. First 3 things that you have to keep in mind in order to absorb the definition of management. So let's move ahead. If you again look closer at this definition, You also see a couple of other terminologies. One is efficiently, here efficient attainment of, and then efficiently using the limited resources. Now let's understand the next topic of this discussion. What is the difference between effectiveness and efficiency? So that's the next topic for the day. Understand the difference between effectiveness and efficiency. You can understand this again through 2-3 examples I'll try to give. The word effectiveness means, can you achieve your objective? Can you achieve your objective itself in the first place? Can you even achieve the goal that you have set to begin? Can you win the game? Can you win the tournament? Can you save the patient? Can you invite more customers? Can you make profit? So that is efficiency. Can you achieve the goal in the first place? That is effectiveness. Now what is efficiency? Efficiency is, can you achieve the goal within a specific time or cost. Effectiveness talks about achieving something in the first place. Efficiency talks about the ability to achieve within a particular time or within a particular cost. So efficiency, two variables you have to keep in mind. One is time and the other is cost. Now let me give you some examples. First example is, let's say I have 2 laptops with me and I have to edit and upload videos. Now let's say the duration of the video is 10 minutes. I have a Windows laptop and I have a MacBook. When I edit the video, both the laptops can edit the videos, so both are effective, right? Both are effective, both can get the goal done. My goal is to edit the video, so both laptops are effective in the first place. But if I edit the video through Windows, it will take 25 minutes for me to export a 10-minute video. But if I do the same editing in Mac laptop, it will take only 3 minutes for me to export the videos of the same duration, which is 10 minutes. Why? Because Mac has better processors. And now you can say which laptop is more efficient. I will say my Mac laptop is much more efficient. So if I'm running short on time, I will use my Mac laptop to export and make and edit and export the videos. So one is the time aspect. The second aspect is cost. So the first example is editing videos. PC versus Mac, which can do the work faster for me. The second example is cost. Now let's say I have to advertise one of my products. I have 2 options to advertise. My goal is to make my product reach 10 lakh people. Okay? The goal is to make your brand visible to 10 lakh people. Now you can go about achieving this objective in 2 ways. One is you can export. Now you can go about achieving this objective in 2 ways. One is you can advertise in a tournament like IPL, or you can advertise in a tournament like a Champions League final, or a big occasion, maybe during Diwali, maybe during some other festival. Or you can go about launching your advertisements on YouTube or on Instagram or Facebook. You can directly advertise through social media. Let's say if you want to make 10 lakh people to see your videos, and if you advertise it through IPL, maybe it will cost you 50 lakhs to run an advertisement, maybe 5 to 10 times, maybe a 20-second advertisement to run 5 to 10 times. But if you want to do the same on Instagram or on YouTube, you could possibly do it for 5 lakhs. The goal is to make sure that 10 lakh people see your brand. But if you route it through IPL, it's pretty costly. So it costs you, let's say, 50 lakhs. Again, these are just hypothetical assumed numbers. But if you advertise it through social media like YouTube, Instagram, it costs you only 5 lakhs. Now, which is more efficient? The goal is the same, reaching 10 lakh people, but if you advertise through social media, you would do it at a much cheaper cost. So, effectiveness is the ability to achieve the goal in the first place. Efficiency is to be able to achieve the objective within a stipulated time or a stipulated cost. Now let us talk about the characteristics of management. So the first point is management is a goal-oriented process. We just explained in the last class that every organization has a goal. It doesn't matter what type of organization you belong to, whether you could be a hospital or you could be a sports team or you could be a department store, anything. If it is an organization, there will be a goal. So you can also say it in this way. If there is no goal, there will be nothing to manage. Imagine that we open a venture where there is no clearly stated objectives, there is nothing to achieve, then what are we going to manage there? Everybody will do whatever they feel like doing, isn't it? So the first point, the first characteristic that we have to understand when it comes to management is that it is a goal-oriented process. That means there should be some clearly defined objective. Either I have to win the tournament or I should have the highest recovery rate in my city if I'm a hospital, or if I'm running a school, I will have, let's say, I will have all passed students in the batch and I should get the highest class average. Or if I'm running a CA coaching center, I should have the most number of passed candidate, the highest pass percentage in the country. So this is some examples that I can say here. So management is a goal-oriented process. So you have to understand the goals may be different between organizations, but every organization has a goal. So that's the first point that we need to keep in mind. Okay, the second point is management is all pervasive. Management is all pervasive. What is mean by all pervasive? It is present in every form of organization, which is closely similar to the previous point we mentioned. So it is given here that the activities involved in managing an enterprise are common to all organizations, whether economic, social, or political. So it doesn't matter what type of organization you are. I run a sole proprietorship organization. I have something to manage because I have a goal. The government also, whether the state government, the central government, it's the highest form of organization that you can see in a country. Even they will have a clearly stated objective. So management will be present everywhere. Wherever there is a goal, there will be management. So that's the second point. Now let's talk about the third point, which is management is multidimensional. And in the book you can see they have given 3 subdivisions or 3 main dimensions of management. So management of work, management of people, and management of operations. Now let's talk about it one by one. What is management of work? Management of work is whenever I'm setting up an organization, I have to define what are all the possible types of work that will be present in order for me to execute every day and achieve my goal. Okay, so let me give you some examples. Let's say we are running a department store, or let's say we are running a garment shop, or let's say we are running a restaurant business. Now if you want to run a restaurant, put yourself in the position of the owner of the restaurant. So as owner, the first thing on day one you will be sitting and defining, okay, I want to run a restaurant business and I have to make the most value of sale, and I should have the greatest customer satisfaction, I should have the highest rating. So these could be your goals. Now what all the things that I should do? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I need a place of establishment which should be located in the middle of the city. Okay, I should have this particular type of ambience in the restaurant. Okay, I run this type of cuisine. Should I run Indian cuisine or should I run Chinese cuisine? It all depends on what your taste is, how you want your restaurant to look like. Okay, and how I want the chairs to look like, I want the tables to look like this, and then I want the waiters to come and greet the customers in this particular manner. So you define each and every type of work that will be done. Okay, I want, even to the extent that how your garbage disposal system will be in your restaurant. It has to be that comprehensive, that extensive. In other words, work talks about what needs to be done, right? What needs to be done. The second thing is management of people. Management of people is about what are all the type of people should I recruit and manage in order for me to run this organization. We were talking about restaurant business, right? So in order to successfully run a restaurant, what are all the types of people I need in a day-to-day operation? I need a person to sit at the reception who can handle the crowd and say that, okay, how long will be the waiting time, right? And then I need supervisors who can direct the guests to the appropriate table. Some people will come as a single person, some people will come as a couple, some people will come like 5 to 6 people. So you have to show them, guide them to the appropriate table. And then we will obviously have the waiters who will carry the orders and communicate it to the kitchen. And then we will have the core kitchen environment who actually execute the orders and get the food ready. So again, we will have to define what are all the types of people. Each person will have a different skill set, right? The reception person, he needs a different skill set. The chef, she needs a different skill set. The waiters, they need a different skill set. So we have to define who are the people that we need to recruit, who needs to do the work, who needs to do what type of work. So that is second thing. So the second question is, the management of people is about who, right? And the last is management of operations. Management of operations is an integration of management of work and management of people. So it is how the work is done. So this is where you define some standard operating procedures, like exactly how the waiters should receive the guests, exactly how the receptionist should talk to the customers, exactly how should they generate the bill. So it and even exactly how the chefs should heat the product, even to the last recipe. So these are all the points that I want you to keep in mind with respect to operations. This is where the work is what needs to be done, and people is where who needs to be done, and then what and who combines to say that how it should be done. That is operations. It defines the process, entire process workflow. Now let's talk about the fourth point. Management is a continuous process. We will see the 5 aspects of management, which is planning, organizing, staffing, directing, and controlling. We will see them detailed in the upcoming lectures. But understand, those processes are sequential in nature. One happens and then the other thing happens and then the third thing happens. For example, we want to shoot a movie, we want to create a movie, right? Let's say you are into this movie making business. You want to direct a movie. What will you do first? First, we write the story, and then we decide on the characters who could be the best fit for this such and such roles. And then we approach the characters, then we assemble a team, and then we do the shooting, and then we do post production, and then we do promotion. So it's a sequential process, right? Most processes are sequential. Some processes will be done in parallel. For example, let's say you have assembled the team and the core team is busy in filming the project. At the same time, in parallel, the music team will be working separately, composing songs and doing re-recording, right? Isn't it? So editing team will be, let's say the shooting is done, the editing team will be working, editing the project. At the same time, music team will be working on the re-recording project. So that's how it works. It is mostly sequential, continuous process. It flows from one thing to the other. Sometimes it acts in parallel, sometimes done in parallel. So that is continuous process for you. And then group activity, which we saw, which is an obvious point. Nobody works in isolation, everybody works as a team. So management is a group activity. There are layers of people, top level, middle level, and lower level, which we will see shortly. So management is a group activity, and then there has to be coordination. Again, coordination is a separate topic that we will see in detail later. And dynamic function is nothing works in static. Again, we were talking about this restaurant business some time while ago, right? Again, go back to that example. Now we had actually set up our business, and let's say our business was quite successful for the last 5 to 7 years. In our locality, our business had got a very good name. But 100 meters away, let's say there is another established franchise who is setting up shop, same restaurant shop. So now there is a competition. So let's say we have a locality of 15,000 people, and out of those 15,000 people, we were regularly getting customers like 300 to 400 people per evening. Now half of that are planning to go to the competitor's business. At least they will give a try. Now what happens? Now there is a new competition, there is a new player who is directly competing with us, taking almost half of our business. How are we going to react to that? So this is dynamic function. Are we going to reduce our price, or are we going to double down our quality? How are we going to react to that? Isn't it? So that is dynamic function. So there is an action from the outer environment on our business. It is impacting our business directly. How are we going to respond to that? So that is the dynamic function of management, responding to the events of external environment. And last thing is intangible force, which is quite obvious to say. You can see managers, but you cannot see management. Management is managers in action. So you cannot say that, okay, he is the person who is in management. No, he is or she is the manager. They are not the management. So nowhere you can find, okay, you go straight, take the third right, there you will see management. Oh, it doesn't work that way. Managers may be seen, but management is not seen. It is an intangible force. But how you can feel management? It is through the results. Because we said, right, every management has a goal to be achieved. So managers will give direction. The people at the lower level will carry out the directions, and they will wait and see whether they are achieving the objectives or not. So that is management in action. In the last class, we saw about characteristics of management, and in today's class, we will see what are all the objectives of management, and importance of management and nature of management. So first thing, objectives of management. There are three objectives, large objectives of any management. The first is organizational objectives, second is social objectives, and third is personal objectives. Let's see them one by one. What is organizational objectives? Every organization will have three key objectives to tick, which are survival, profit, and growth. So what is survival? Survival is like how we feel that we prioritize survival above everything. The same way every organization will also prioritize survival above everything, which is to make sure that the going concern of that business is not affected. So that's the first point, which is if you keep making consistent losses, the more losses you make, you will erode your capital. And at one point, you will empty the entire capital, and if the capital of the business vanishes, the entire business also vanishes. So the point is, stay alive and protect the capital. This is about survival. The next thing is profit, which is quite obvious, right? Every business wants to make profit. Even if something is established as a not-for-profit organization, they will also ensure that they don't waste their monetary resources, so that they will be able to carry out their core objective in a much more effective way. So profit is the foundation aspect of any business. So that is quite obvious point. So make profit so that your business grows. The next point is growth, and we can also see profit as, you must have heard this, profit maximization, which is let's make as much profit as possible to take steps to grow our profits as much as possible. The third aspect is growth. You should make profit, and the profit should also be growing in number. It should also be increasing over the years. I'll give you an example. 20 years ago, we could do a lot with 100 rupees. One can eat all 3 meals in a day within 100 rupees 20 years ago. Today, with 100 rupees, you can hardly eat one full meal properly, isn't it? So, the value of rupee decreases over time. Not just rupee, any currency decreases over time because of inflation. So, unless you grow your profits, if you keep making the same amount of profit every year, eventually you will go out of business. So, growth is the third aspect that we need to keep in mind, which is to beat inflation. Okay, the second segment of this objectives is social objectives, which is every business has to take the help of society to function properly. Without the help of society, no business can survive or thrive. So, because the business is receiving from the society, it is taking from the society in the form of resources, in the form of human. Society takes in the form of human resources and natural resources. It uses the land, it uses water and air. So naturally, the business has to give back to the society. I'll give you an example. Under the New Companies Act, there is a new provision called corporate social responsibility, which is if a company reaches a certain threshold, if it makes money, you can see the provision here, the applicability of CSR in India. The provision of CSR applies to every company. You don't have to get into the details of this provision, just to make sure how even the Companies Act, even the government is promoting the societal welfare to be taken care by certain companies. If the company makes more than 500 crores, 1000 crore turnover, and if it has more than 500 crore net worth, and if it has a net profit more than 5 crores, it has to spend at least 2% of its average net profits. Again, don't get lost in the details. It is just to make you understand this is even compulsory for certain companies. So that's the importance of social objectives. You could not be a company, you could just be a partnership firm, or you could just be a sole proprietorship firm. You are most welcome to serve to the society. The more you give back to the society, the more it will get returned to you in some form. So that is social objectives. And the last is personal objectives. You have to understand the meaning of personal. So don't confuse this with personal, PERSONAL. It's not personal, it's personal. Personal, it means employee. Employees of a business is called personal. What is personal's objective? Personal's objective is that even the employee should feel that they are growing. The company should grow, yes, but at the same time, if you are the business and if you recruit somebody fresh out of college or from some other job, the job that you recruit that person should also be challenging to that person, which means when a person stays in your business as an employee for a couple of years, they feel that they have also grown in their career, which means your nature of work should improve that person's resume. If the person doesn't feel challenged enough, then they will eventually leave the job and go for some other business, some other employment. You cannot just hold on to employees just if you think that if you keep paying them well, they will stay. That is not at all true. So employees also feel that their life has grown, their career has grown, their skill set has grown. So that's the third objective under objectives of management. Now let's move on to the next segment, which is importance of management. I'm kind of skipping that segment because it has a lot of repeat points that we have seen in the previous segments of this chapter. Again, it talks about increasing efficiency, it creates a dynamic organization, which we have already covered in detail in the previous lectures. So I'm skipping this segment and I'm moving on to the next segment, which is nature of management. Let's look at this here. Nature of management. Here we see management in 3 dimensions. Management as art, management as a science, and management as a profession. So first, let's talk about management as art. So what are the characteristics of art? Every art will have a theoretical knowledge, personalized application, and it is also done based on practice and creativity. I'll give you some example. Music is a form of art. Now music has a lot of theory, a lot of grammar to it. If you have a little bit of idea about Carnatic musical, since I come from South India, I'll give you an example. The Carnatic music, there is a rag called Raga Hindolam. Okay. Now you can see the syntax of that raga. So this is the ascending notes and this is the descending notes. So if you have to compose a song in this Hindolam raga, you have to follow this syntax. You cannot break this syntax and create or compose a song and call that as a song based on Hindolam. So people who are obsessed with Carnatic music, they follow this very strictly. The equivalent of this raga in Hindustani music is Rag Malkauns. So again, you can search about this later. So now you get the idea. This I gave an example from music. The same way you can search for examples in art, in photography, in storytelling. Storytelling has a standard structure, right? Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. Almost every movie follows that pattern. So every art has a theoretical set of knowledge, some proper syllabus to it. And then artists apply those theoretical knowledge into their own version. For example, the same Hindolam raga, you take both Ilayaraja has composed songs, A.R. Rahman also has composed songs with Hindolam. They do it totally based on their practice and their creativity, and they personally apply it in their own way. Both of their songs sound good, but the songs are ultimately different. The basic theory is the same, but the application is different. Now let's see it applying to management. Management has a theory to it. Yes, there is a management. There are lots of management theory. You see classical management theory, behavioral management theory, like how music is documentized. Same way, management also has a lot of theoretical stuff to it. And there are lots of different types of managers. I'll give you two examples. The largely managers can be classified into two types, which is hands-on manager and hands-off manager. A hands-on manager is kind of an autocratic manager. What do I mean by this? This type of manager tries to control pretty much everything. They want it to be in their requirement. They try to control A to Z of the process, and they also want result. And hands-off managers are those people, they will give you the task and they will just stay back after that. They leave the process to you. You are entitled to whatever you want. They just want the results. So to give you practical examples, in cricket, Indian cricket, you see two types of captaincy. One is Sourav Ganguly's types of captaincy, and you see Dhoni's type of captaincy. Both styles are great. Both have got great results. Ganguly is pretty much hands-on. He wants to almost dictate everything. Almost after every delivery, he goes to the bowler. He talks to the bowler. So he's pretty intense on the field. But if you see Dhoni on the contrary, he's pretty laid back. He just leaves the job. He just gives the basic idea to the bowler and he leaves the execution to the bowler. Both have been successful in their own thing. Now if you see in the modern era, Ganguly's type of leadership, you can see Gautam Gambhir pretty similar to Ganguly's type of captaincy. You can see again pretty intense on the field, pretty micromanaging. But again, Dhoni, if you see, I find Shreyas Iyer to be kind of more like Dhoni, pretty cool, not so reactive on the field, kind of leaves it to the players. So these are two types I can say. Both are successful, both types of leadership are successful, but they are pretty different if you see at the detail level. So is it applicable to management? Yes, management has theory, personalized application, different managers apply things on their own basis, and then again they apply through their own practice and their own innovative thinking. So management, yes, is it an art? Yes, management can be called as an art. Now let's talk about management as a science. Does science have a systematized body of knowledge? Yes, science has a systematized body of knowledge. You have periodic table, you have Newton's laws of motion, you have Einstein's theory of relativity. So many body of knowledge you can find in the field of science. And those things, those rules, those laws have been derived after lots of experimentation, lots of trial and error, and they hold good everywhere in this universe. Newton discovered gravity. Gravity exists in America, in India, in Australia. Every part of the planet you go, the same level of gravity you can experience. So it is universally applicable. Now let's fit that into management. Yes, management again has a systematized body of knowledge, we just saw. And managers also experiment a lot, and they came up with, the scientists and managers came up with the body of knowledge based on their experimentation, based on their application. But does it have universal validity? No, it does not have universal validity. Again, I will give you some examples. If you work in an MNC, let's say from MNC from India, you can talk to your subordinates who are Indians in one way, you can manage them in one way. But let's say you also have some subordinates from Hong Kong, or let's say you also have some subordinates from Japan. You cannot talk to them the same way how you talk to Indians. You cannot manage a Japanese in the same way how you deal with Indians. The companies that I know where the Japanese delegates used to come, they will be so particular about the time. Even if you are 1 minute or 2 minutes late to the meeting, you have to give them a huge reason, a huge explanation, and you also have to apologize. Going late for a couple of minutes to a meeting per Indian standards is not a big deal. We don't even find it as an offensive thing in the first place, but it doesn't work for if you have a Korean partner or if you have a Japanese partner. So again, management principles, you can do a bit of aggressive management on things like Chinese people or on Indian people. But again, if you go to Europe, you cannot do some aggressive management tactics on your employees. So again, you cannot apply the same principle everywhere. So this is the reason why management is an inexact science. Now let's talk about management as a profession. What are the characteristics of a profession? It should have a well-defined body of knowledge, yes, restricted entry, professional association, ethical code of conduct, and service motive. Let's say doctors. Doctors are professionals, and they have well-defined body of knowledge? Yes, they have well-defined body of knowledge. They study biology, they study human anatomy. Exactly, it's a documented knowledge. There is a proper syllabus to it. And then restricted entry. Can everybody become a doctor? No, they cannot become a doctor. Professional associations. Do doctors have their own association? Yes, doctors have their own professional body of association. Ethical code of conduct. Does ethics apply to doctors? Yes, doctors have a strict code of conduct. They are bound by certain things. If they breach it, their membership will be cancelled. Their rights to practice in this country will be stripped from them. So yes, they are bound by huge ethical code of conduct. And last is service motive. Yes, their primary objective is to serve people, to treat the unhealthy. These are the proper characteristics of a profession. Now let's see if those things apply to management. Management, do they have well-defined body of knowledge? Yes, we just saw this previously. Restricted entry. Is there any restriction for a person to become a manager? There is actually no big restriction. Anybody can become a manager. I'll give you some example. In some companies, to reach a managerial level, they will restrict only chartered accountants to become a manager. Let's say if it's a finance department, only chartered accountants or cost accountants can become a manager in finance. But there are a lot of small companies which do not have this restriction. They will feel that if a person has adequate experience, they can reach the managerial level. So that is the restriction part. There is no prescribed qualification. There is no big restriction on become manager. You might see a lot of people in high level position in big companies. They reached that place purely out of experience and not out of some proper academic qualification. So restricted entry does not apply to management. Professional association. Is there a professional association for management? Yes. So today's class, I'll give you an activity. After the class, just Google All India Management Association. So you can see that entire website. You see how that association runs. What do they actually do? How they educate the managers, and how can one become a member of that association? So these are the things that I want you to do as an assignment. You'll learn a few things. Ethical code of conduct. Yes, there are some general ethical code of conduct. Yes, you should not, if you are in finance department, you should not misreport the numbers. You should not do forgery or stealing or anything, corporate frauds. So basic ethical code of conduct applies. And then service motive. Yes, you should serve. Pure profit maximization was like old traditional way of management. In modern days management, unless you treat your customers properly, and you are not ready to serve them, it's very hard to earn customers these days. So yes, in modern day, service motive applies to management as well. In this lecture, let's talk about the levels of management. There are three levels in any decent medium to large level, a large sized organization, which are top level management, middle management, and operational level management. So first, let me explain what is top management. Then I will explain what is operational level management. And with the help of those, it will be easy for you to understand what is middle level management. And then I will also give you an example of how the organizational structure looked in the company back where I worked. So first, let's talk about top level management. This is where, as the title says, all the heads of the company, this is where they belong. What do the heads of the company, what do? They are mostly the founders of the company, promoters of the company. They are the managing directors. They will be the executive directors of the company. They perform all the strategic functions of the company. What do you mean by strategic aspect? They will come up with, okay, what the type of business that we have to do, what type of brands we have to create, how should we advertise it, should we call a celebrity or not, or should we use our own resources to do the advertisement. All the top level aspects. Should I open a new factory in Assam, or should I shut down a factory maybe in West Bengal? It goes on and on like this. All the strategical top level aspects of a company. Should I send export to Australia or not? Or should I make imports from China or not? All the strategical aspects of the company. Now, if you take the annual report of any listed company in India, at the front section, you will see board of directors. The management people will be given, there will be a place for them. Okay, I will show you now as an example, the TCS annual report. So this is where you can see in the table of content, board of directors and management team. I hope you can see this. Now, I go to this page, you see the board of directors. This page you can pretty much find in every annual report of listed companies. So these are the board of directors of TCS. And this is an annual report of year 23-24. And this is the management team. So they have given the names of the people: chief technology officer, chief marketing officer. So your CEO, CFO, COO, all those people, your chief legal counsel, all the top level people, at the corporate level as well as at the business head level, they belong to the top management. Now, let me explain operational level management. Operational level are the people who do the legwork of any organization. What do I mean by legwork? Legwork is something, the basic level work. If the company is about automobiles, manufacturing automobiles, then operational level people are the ones who actually build the automobiles, are the ones who actually assemble the automobiles. Let me show you some examples, some pictures in Google. So these are the people who work inside factory, right? So they are the ones who are in responsibility of all the operational aspect of a business. Blue collar workers, to be precise. Now let's talk about the middle management. What does it mean? You understood what is top management. They are responsible for making all the strategic decisions. You understood what is operational level management. They are responsible for carrying out all the final basic level tasks. Now, middle management is the people who get the orders from top management and they carry it on, they pass it on to the operational level management, and then they will review the work done by operational level management and report it back to the top level management. Because let's take an example, a company like TCS or Wipro or Infosys, any big Asian Paints, any big level company. These companies have more than 50-60,000 employees. If you take TCS, Infosys, I think there are more than 1 lakh employees. The top management will always be restricted to 20 to 25 people. The operational level management can go anywhere up to 50 to 1 lakh, 1,50,000 people. Now, how can these 50 or 20, 25 people at the top management directly control the entire 1 lakh people at the bottom level. It's not possible for them, right? So they create a layer called middle management. So those middle management people, they will range somewhere anywhere between 500 to 1000 people. Those 500 to 1000 people will control the larger 50 to 1 lakh people at the operational level management. Now I will show you the organization structure of the company where I worked. So when I cleared my CA and joined a private limited company, this is how the organization structure looked. So it started from band 1, which is the highest post of that company, and it went till band 9, which is the lowest post of that company. Now band 7, 8, 9 are purely operational operational level people. They worked only in factory and research and development unit. And band 8 and band 9 people are like extremely replaceable, very, very low power to them. They are responsible for only carrying out 15 to 20 tasks, beyond which they cannot perform anything on their own. Clear instructions will be given to them, and they are to perform only those tasks only. So some days they will be doing packing of whatever that has been produced, and they will be loading. Some days they will be loading that into the truck. Some days they will be unloading the raw material from the truck. So very basic level of work, and they will work in factory. Band 9, 8 and 7. Band 6 are officer cadre level. They belong to middle level and higher level in operational management. So these are the factory supervisors, and sometimes they also worked in corporate office. Again, I'm telling you the story that was present in the company I worked. This need not be the case in every company, but just for you to get an idea. Okay, band 5C was where I joined when I cleared my CA and went into this company. So I was kind of at the lowest level in the middle management. And from there I worked for 2 years, and I totally worked for 3 years. But at the end of the second year, I got my promotion and I became assistant manager. So AM is assistant manager, DM for deputy manager, DGM for deputy general manager, GM is for general manager, SGM is senior general manager, VP vice president, AVP associate vice president, and SVP senior vice president. MD is for managing director, you know this. Executive director, whole-time director, WTD is whole-time director. So these are all the people, the middle management as well as the top management, they all worked in corporate office. So you must have heard the term climbing the corporate ladder, isn't it? So this is exactly the ladder looks. So I joined at 5C. Maybe had I worked till now, I might have come till deputy manager, or maybe band 4B, deputy general manager, I'm not sure. But this is how the hierarchy works. I came out of the organization after 3 years itself and started my business. So this is how the corporate ladder looks. So I hope you got a better idea about the levels of management. Let's go to the next segment, which is functions of management. Now I'm not going to spend much time here. I will just rush through the meanings of these terms, because you see there are 5 functions to a management: planning, organizing, staffing, directing and controlling. I'm not going to explain in detail because these 5 functions are 5 separate chapters in your first volume. So when we come to those chapters, we will see them in extreme detail. But to give you a brief idea now, planning is developing the overall blueprint, which is like, okay, what are we as an organization? What are we supposed to do? What are all the types of works that could be involved in our day-to-day operations? So developing a complete roadmap. Where do we see ourselves in 3 years? Where do we see ourselves in 5 years? So, okay, so if we want to see ourselves in that position in 5 years, what should we do today? So that is planning aspect. And then organizing, which is you develop your organization structure. This is exactly an organization structure. So some organizations will have functional structure. Some organizations will have business structure. How do you define your organization structure? Which is basically developing the skeleton. Say in football, you have team formation, right? Some teams will play with 4-3-3 formation. Some teams will play with 1-2 and 3-4 formation. So exactly like that, how your organization structure is going to look like. And then you have staffing. Staffing is where you decide how to recruit the right person for the right job. And directing is delegation of work. After you recruit that person, he or she is not going to carry out the work on their own, right? They need specific instructions on or training on how to do their job properly so that you get your desired result. So directing chapter is about how to give instructions to the employees and make them do the work, and also how to maintain their motivation, morale levels, and everything. Controlling chapter is finally about performance review. You cannot infinitely keep on giving tasks and you will not see or review their work, right? So you need to have periodical status check once a week, once a month, once a quarter, once every 6 months, and then finally at the end of year, annual review. Performance review is completely mandatory in any management, if at all the management wants to be effective. Periodical review should be done. So when we come to these specific chapters, we will see them in detail. The last lecture of chapter number 1 is coordination. Now let's talk about coordination in detail. Where do we need coordination? Largely, we will see examples first. I'll show you some areas where coordination is totally essential. If you don't have coordination, it will ruin everything. And then I will take you to a case study based on an FMCG company, how coordination applies there. And then we will see the characteristics. And then we will finally see the importance aspect of coordination, and we'll wrap up this chapter. So I will give you straight away some examples or the areas where coordination is largely found or it matters so much. The first example you can see is an orchestra. See how many people are there. Each of them have their own responsibilities. So there are easily 25 to 30 people in this orchestra that you can see. Each of them have highest possibility to go non-sync. They can play anything that they wish. Even if one person in this orchestra decides to act on their own wish and not go according with the instructions of the conductor here, the music is going to sound terrible. It will be no more music in the first place. So you see the coordination. Everybody is synced. Everybody is coordinated. That one perfect note to that one perfect second. So that is the first example. The second example is sports. You see when two players run between the wickets, they need again as much coordination as possible. You must have seen a lot of runouts if you are a follower of cricket, where one person wanted the second run or the third run, the other batter did not want it, and they ended up being on the same side, or lack of coordination, one person will be run out. So this is another example. Also, even in the outfield, if two players are attacking the same ball, trying to catch the same ball or save the same run or boundary, they also need coordination. You must have seen a lot of catches at the boundary where one person will catch it on the verge of the boundary line, pick the ball, throw it inside the field, and that person will jump out of the boundary and the ball will fall inside, was about to fall inside the boundary, and the other person will finish the catch. You must have seen a lot of examples. So now you get the idea. This is in cricket. The last example I will show is in football. Again, let's say there is a striker over here, and the striker is expecting the ball to be passed from the midfielder. Midfielder will be somewhere, anywhere here, and he finds a gap and he will suddenly pass the ball to the final third. The striker should be in exact sync with the midfielder. He should anticipate where the pass is going to be. So he has to position himself to that place. All this should happen in a matter of 1 or 2 seconds. So that's the preliminary examples that I wanted to give about this topic of coordination. Now let's talk about the case study. How does this apply to a business organization? I'll give you an example of an FMCG company. Okay, let's just take the 4 departments in a company: marketing department, sales department, production department, and then purchase department. First, what will happen? Let's say this company, this FMCG is fast moving consumer goods. Let's say they manufacture shampoos. Now the marketing team will run an advertisement. They create the brand, they will develop the logo, the font of the brand and everything. They will launch the brand and they will advertise the brand to the larger public through any medium. The job of marketing team is to build the awareness of the brand among public. So that has been done already. Then what will happen? The sales force will go to the field. They are the ones who go to the particular field. They will have area wise territory for them. So each salesperson will go inside their territory. They will approach every shop, every kirana shop, every modern trade shop, every department store. They will approach, and then they will start collecting order for this shampoo brand. Now this salesperson will go, as I said, go to every shop and ask for order. So shop, let's say this person has 150 shops under his territory. So he will go from 1 to 150 one by one. He'll collect orders, and let's say he got 10 units from every shop. So 150 shops, 10 units from every shop. So totally the demand is 1500 units. The salesperson will then communicate, okay, I have surveyed the entire market. We have a demand of 1500 units of this shampoo bottle. He will convey this information to the production department. So the production department finally will know, okay, there is a requirement of 1500 units of shampoo bottles to be produced. Then the production company will communicate the same to the purchase department, and then they will say that in order for us to produce 1500 units of shampoo, how much chemicals or how much the basic ingredients that we should buy, based on which the purchase department will place the order for the raw materials that they want to buy. Now this is exactly an example of a well coordinated departments inside a company. Now let's say how the departments will function when there is no coordination, and what will be the consequence of that. Marketing team will do the same job. Their job is to build brand awareness, and they will do the advertisement, and they will do in their way. Sales department will not see the advertisement, will not see anything, and they will just go to the territory and they will start collecting the order from the department stores and all the shops. Let's say in this example also they got a unit demand of 1500 bottles of shampoo. This they will not convey on time to the production department, or let's say the sales department will convey this correctly to the production department, but production department will not wait for the number to be coming from sales department, because production department is basically where the factory is located and they have machines. They don't want to sit idle. They don't want to wait until the sales team is coming up with a number. So what they will do, they will already have some pre-existing raw material. They will go on producing their own amount of goods, whatever that they want. So let's say they end up producing, the production department, let's say they end up manufacturing 4000 units of shampoo bottles because they just decide so. And then the purchase team also will not be in touch with production department. Their job is to keep on buying raw materials in high volume, because that's when you will get more discount, and they will end up buying high volume totally regardless of the market demand. So let's say they should have had demand for, they should have had stock for making only 1500 units of stock, but they ended up, purchase department ended up buying for 6000 units of stock. Now what will happen because of this? This is a clear example of when the departments function in their own way without, in a sync with the other department. Now because purchase department had too much purchase, the raw material stores will be flooding with stock. And also the production department ended up producing 3000 units more than what is the actual demand. They will also have too much finished goods in their godown, and that will also be lying idle inside the warehouse. And shampoos will have shelf life. Some shampoos will have 1 year, some will go bad in 18 months. If they manage to somehow sell it in 1 year or 18 months, then somewhat the damage is minimized. But let's say the shampoo brand is so tiny and its competitors have large market share, and somehow they could not push it beyond 1500 units. So what will happen to the extra units that they produced? without considering the demand. They will have to scrap it. So when you scrap it at this much volume, you have wasted your production capacity, you've spent too much on electricity, you've spent on unnecessary labor. You see the consequence. This is how exactly it will look when the departments function without coordination. Now let's go to the theory part. The characteristics of coordination is exactly similar to characteristics of management, which we saw in detail in one of the previous lectures. Group efforts, unity of action, continuous process, all pervasive function, everything, pretty much everything is similar to the characteristics of management. Now let's go to the next topic, which is importance of coordination. Why is coordination important? 3 points are given here: growth in size, functional differentiation, and also specialization. First, we will see one by one growth in size. Imagine an organization with 3 people, a small partnership firm. There will not be any chances of much of miscommunication. Pretty much almost everybody will be in sync. But imagine the same partnership firm grows to a 30-member organization, then it grows up to 300-member organization. Now how many sub-teams will be there? How many departments will be there? Isn't it? So when the organization keeps growing up in scale, the complexity between each of them increases. Imagine there is a group, your friends group, you 3 are there, and suddenly the friends group became 50. Now how many possible one-to-one conversations will happen inside that group? So whenever the network increases, the complexity within that network also increases rapidly. So that's the first point. Whenever a business grows in size, people should take more and more efforts to keep the organization well coordinated. So that's the first point. The next point is functional differentiation. Functional differentiation talks about, it's pretty close to my example. Marketing is a function, sales force is a function, production is a function, purchase is a function. Similarly, there will be more functions: accounting and finance, information technology, administration. So many sub-functions are there inside a company. If a company grows big in size, again, its complexity will increase. Therefore, more and more functions will keep happening. And functions, naturally, they have totally different type of job. So it is more and more difficult. Let's say, inside finance department, all of them will be mostly BCom and MCom graduates or CA graduates. So they will have more possibility to coordinate within each other. A CA can understand what the other CA tells. A BCom student will understand what the MCom student tells. But when you have to work across functions, marketing guy would have studied MBA from IIM or from some private university. The production guy must have done engineering from some other college. Now how these two people work in sync? Now how an engineer from the production team and a finance guy from the accounting and finance team, how do they work? So again, you have to see that. So that's functional differentiation. The more functionally different an organization becomes, again it becomes difficult to ensure coordination. More and more work needs to be done to ensure coordination. The last part is specialization. Imagine a hospital, a big hospital, a multi-speciality hospital. So you have departments for neurosurgery, you have departments for ortho, and you have department for cardiology, so on and so forth. Every department will be headed by a super specialty doctor who would have done practice in that particular field for more than 20 years. Now naturally they will think what? The people who are already so intellectually specialized, they will naturally have their ego, isn't it? So they will think that their department is the most important in that organization. So that is specialization. When the organization has more and more intellectually specialized people, the chances of them getting into an ego clash is more. And when there is an ego clash, coordination goes for a toss. Again, each of them will be trying to pull the organization in their direction. Then there will be a non-sync. Another example that you can very much relate is, sometimes even in your school you must have observed this. Teachers between themselves might have a little bit of ego tussle going on between them. The economics teacher might think that economics is the most important chapter. English teacher will think that English is the most important subject. Maths teacher, you don't even need to ask. So that's exactly how specialization works. Now, the most important aspect inside this coordination is the case study given in this your study syllabus, which is the case study of Dabbawalas. Again, excellent example. I am not going to give in detail. There are so many videos on YouTube. You can see how Dabbawalas function, and there is a very good description that is given here. To particularly note here, Dabbawalas rely on low capital and use cycles, wooden carriage, and local trains to achieve target. So again, I'm not going to delve into detail about what exactly they do. So this is an assignment for you to carry out. Check, there are so many YouTube videos about this topic. So we have covered this entire first chapter, nature and significance of management. I hope you have followed all the lectures so far. I would like you to give a feedback in the comment section of how are you finding these lectures and how this channel should proceed further. I appreciate your feedback very much. I'll see you in the next chapter. Thank you and bye-bye.